Hello, my little goblins. I brought you something special. Papa always provides. So we have Orcust nonsense, and this is nonsensical. We are running Scythelock package. If you do not know how Scythelock works, is you get P.U.N.K Fiberax out. You get Artifact Dagda out. Activate Dagda to summon Scythe into the set zone. And then on your opponent's turn, you use TG Wonder Magician. You special summon that from Halki Fibrax's ability. And TG pops the Scythe. Scythe gets summoned. And then you TG Wonder Magician and Artifact Scythe. Synchro summon into Baron de Fleur. Now your opponent gets locked into the Scythe lock. And then on the next turn, on your next opponent's turn, you can send the Baron de Fleur back to the extra deck and get a Artifact Scythe from the graveyard and then lock your opponent out a second turn. Now this does get disrupted by Called by the Grave, and pretty much every deck is running too. And if you're as unlucky of a human being as I am, they will Call by the Grave it every single time. Now, the few times I did get it off, it was like an instant win. Very hard to lose in that position. And it's pretty satisfying. Now, what does this deck do outside of Scythe locking your opponent? Well, we got Orcust. So if you guys know how Orcust works, we pretty much use Galatea to get in our Babel, which makes all our Orcust into quick effects, which means you can mess with your opponent quite badly on their turn. So the ideal turn one is you get Scythe Lock up, you get Dingirsu in the graveyard, and you have a IP Masquerena on the field. What this will do, also with the Babel, obviously, you need the Babel up too. So that what this will do is we would have instant ways of being able to have a non-targeted send to graveyard effect with Orcust, with our Dingirsu, and then we can link away our Dingirsu, and we could also link away the Artifact Dagda if we really wanted to, and we could go into Apollousa, or we can go into Underworld Goddess using our opponent's monster as well, or we can go into Nightmare Unicorn. There's a lot of plays that we can do, and this deck has a lot of ways of getting to it. Our main way of starting this whole combo off is through the P.U.N.K engine that we have, the small P.U.N.K engine we're running. And a lot of the, like, if we get Scrap Recycler in hand, that pretty much lets us do most of our Orcust plays as well. Not saying that's the only way of getting everything done, but it's kind of ideal hand would have like a Foxy Tune with Scrap Recycler or a Armageddon Knight, or even if you have Girsu's fine to have in hand too. But having that Foxy Tune, because remember, once you start doing a lot of the Orcust combos, like just say Harpora, you get locked into dark monsters, meaning you cannot do the Scythe Lock. And if this deck doesn't do the Scythe Lock, it's not the end of the world. It's still a very strong turn one board. Because honestly, it's really annoying to deal with just IP Masquerena with a Babel and like 3 effects in the graveyard. That's like annoying as hell to begin with, because your opponent will never know kind of like what you're going to be doing, like what your idea is. And a lot of the times you can catch them off guard with the Dingirsu. I hope you guys enjoyed the explanation. We're going to do a recap at the end. So watch out and let's see some games. Hello, and we are here for game 1. We're playing against Kasuki, which I'm just going to assume is a weeb. We get DD Crowed immediately on our Harpora, which makes me sad. But that's okay. And we're going to teach our opponent that you might have DD Crowed us, but we're not going to go out without a fight. So this is kind of what I was talking about. This is what the DP Scythe Lock combo kind of looks like. You go into Jet Synchron. Jet Synchron goes into Link Karibo. And then you bring back the Jet Synchron. And then that goes into Artifact Dagda. Now, we have no ways of activating Dagda on our turn, so we have to wait for our opponent's turn, and now we can full combo here. So if our opponent has any disruption here, he'll be able to do it, but they would have been able to do it either way. So just remember that. So you get Artifact Scythe out on the field. We get the Wonder Magician. And this all happens before you can even do anything with this Nervile. And then Artifact Scythe activates. And then we activate TG Wonder Magician. And our opponent is locked out of the extra deck. And we get a Baron de Fleur. Pretty good. Now, the way our opponent's playing automatically makes me assume they have Revolt in hand. Because there's literally zero reason why you would activate Fractal. Revolt, we still have our Omni Negate. We're fine. We're going to pop this, and boom, there's a Revolt. And remember, our opponent is double screwed, right? Because on their turn, right, we're going to be able to get our Scythe back by sending Baron back to the deck. And it's pretty much over. So it's going to be very hard for this person to even come back from this. And we have the P.U.N.K. And we're going to BM a bit by just activating this Called by the Grave. I just wanted to get lethal. So the only way we're going to get lethal is if we actually go for a card and they just scoop. GG. Isn't that easy? Papa Fat, so it's bringing you another special one. So now we lead with Armageddon Knight, and we get Max Seed. So at this point, we just pretty much give up on the idea of even doing anything, because if we give our opponent like a ton of cards, then they can draw into more hand traps, and then that's going to suck. So we Max C them ourselves. We're going to be like, you know what, we'll trade you a Max C for your Max C. Because this guy X Fade, I'm feeling a little sketchy about him. I'm going to be real. Going to be real with you. And he's an actual psychopath. I don't understand why he just let me draw a card. And he's going to let me draw another card. X Fade is like Santa Claus. Just giving away presents. I assume he's going into a Zeus, right? But then he doesn't go into Zeus. So I literally have no idea what's going through this man's brain. Remember, this is Diamond 3. I don't know what to say. This is the pinnacle of Yu-Gi-Oh! So. Alright, so we're going to combo here. And you know what? Honestly, I probably could have looked at trying to kill our opponent. To be completely honest, now that I'm looking at this, but making it impossible for them to win seems just as good, right? You got Dagda, now we have the Hardport. This is the ideal board. You have Halki, we got Dagda, and now we have plays going on here, right? We're going to be able to get our Hardpora back, go into our beautiful Galatea. Galatea is going to get us our Babel, and Dagda's going to go fetch our stupid Scythe. And I call it a stupid Scythe because this card is toxic as hell. Like, this shit is so toxic. But it's funny, it makes me laugh, so. Since he activated the ability, he actually doesn't take any damage anyway. So there's really no way I could go for lethal. But alright, so now we go full combo. So our opponent, for them to even do anything, they need Droplet. They're going to need Droplet, or they're going to need some type of instant negate. I mean, Droplet's the only one I can think of. Oh, a Call by the Grave too would help them. They're playing Lycerec Tri-Brigade, right? I mean, there's no way they win when you do this to them. It's literally impossible for that deck to even do anything. Think about it. They're going to have a bunch of these level 100, like the level 1 birds. What is a level 1 bird going to do to the absolute Chad that's Dingirsu, absolute fucking Pussy Slayer that's Baron de Fleur, and fucking Dagda holding down the fort? Not doing much. And we're going for lethal here. We have like super lethal. So, emergency teleport. We're actually just going to summon this Foxy Tune. It's called BM. Skeletal's going to be able to bring back the Ngursu. The Ngursu can send something to the graveyard. Then we have 2 pops. Boom. Got like 12k damage on board. GG. Get wrecked. Alrighty, we're here for game 3, and it is against Netflix. I fucking hate Netflix. Stranger Things pretty sick, but like they keep rising the prices on that shit, and now we got Dimension Shifter. This guy's playing Floateries. That's scumbag shit. Cancel Netflix. Cancel your subscription now. But guess what? Artifact Lancia is pretty clutch in this moment. Artifact Lancia is pretty clutch, right? I mean, he just has to pass. He has to pass like a little baby. It's hilarious. But he has 3 set as Floateries, which makes me a little nervous. And we get called by the grave. Well, that's something. I mean, it's not the end of the world, though, because we still have our normal summon. So let's go into Halki Fibrax. And we get Impermed. I mean, it was pretty obvious. The deck runs Imperm for the mirror. They have to run it for the mirror. So the good thing is we have Halki Fibrax and TG Wonder Magician. The pop for the spell in Magic is actually pretty relevant. So he plays the field spell, and I could Ghost Ogre this field spell, but I'm just gonna TG Wonder Magician because that last card he has really can't be anything crazy. But you can make an argument for popping this and then that. I was just afraid about getting called by the grave. Like, waiting to Ghost Ogre it. We can negate the Eaglin. Honestly, this TJ I should not have set like this. But we do get a free draw out of it. I should have placed an attack, though. There's no point in me playing it in the defense. You just force a habit, I guess. So Foxington, we're going to get our Zaaman out. Get our Madam Spider. And then we're going to show him why punks. You don't mess with a punk. And you might be saying, why the fuck did you go into Union Carrier? So you have Union Carrier in this deck to fish out some of the Orcust cards if we can't get to it. It's like a generic way of getting Orcust cards into our graveyard. It's so bad, though. I probably could replace it with something else. But this is what we have it for. Don't hate on our Orcust combos. Our Beginning Knight's actually a really good draw. You're going to Dagda, activate Union Character just to get the Scythe. We're just thinning out the deck at this point because Scythe does nothing against them. And here we're going to go into Access Code Talker. Alright, and yeah, you pretty much know. We're going to fast forward this because we're just going to pop all the shit. He's running evenly matched too in Flounderies. This is why this is why you should cancel a Netflix subscription. This is some scumbag shit. Alrighty, and we bring back the Harpora, and that is 6k damage. Goodbye, Netflix. Bring back Best Buy. Not Best Buy, Blockbuster. Jesus, what is wrong with me? Alright, this is game 4, and you know what? If you really want to grind out your opponent, this is a match for you. Because this is a grinder. I mean, it's only 3 turns, but there's a lot of interaction happening in these 3 turns. Emergency Teleport. We're showing our opponent what's what. You get that Union Carrier. So the reason I actually go into Union Carrier is because I felt like he had an Imperm, and I didn't want to waste going into Halki, because I feel like going into Halki is a much more important play. But in hindsight, after knowing what my opponent's actually playing, going into Halki would have been way better. I should have just went into Halki Fibrax, because we're playing against Pop. Actually, it doesn't really matter, I guess, because he had Lightning Storm anyway. But we're playing against Trap Tricks. This is the only reason why I'm saying that. So we negate that, and then we go into Maxi because we know he's gonna go into Sarah. There's no way he doesn't go into Sarah. Me drawing a card is a lot better, lot worse than him doing this. So we add Hop Horror to hand, even though we have Girsu in hand. Summon the Girsu. We get Impermed, which is a little tilting. But honestly, they're going to Imperm anything because they want to get value out of this Sarah. He goes into Murmello, and then we have Called by the Grave, so we were like fucking begging for him to go into Murmello. I was like, let me counter this fucking bitch. Dude, I hate trap tricks. I just hate playing this archetype. It's just so annoying. It's like, Gravediggers, trap hole. I play all these traps. Ha 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 ha. Well, now we can fully combo off. Now we go into Halki. We're going to show our opponent what it means to be an even Steve. Dagda, baby. Oh my gosh. And then we get Torrential Tributed. Isn't that triggering? I swear to God, I'm not even kidding you. I wanted to punch the fucking wall when he did this. But this just shows you how many times our opponent messed with us and we're still comboing off. Like, what deck does this? There's not that many decks that could do this. Like, isn't this crazy? Going to Calatea. Calatea's going to get our Babble. Thank you. I would have went for the counter track, to be completely honest, but we used it. We go to Dingirsu, and our opponent quits. They don't want any of this smoke. Jesus. Alright, baby girls. We got game number 5. I don't even know if this is the last one. It might be the last one, but it might not be the last one. It depends how long this is. But we're comboing off. We're doing our thing, you know? We're doing our thing. Doing our thing. Halki Fibrex. I mean, we're going to speed through this beginning part because, I mean, we know how this combo works. We've been showing you guys for a while. So, our opponent, Artifact Lancia, thinking I would not be able to do the Jet Synchron, all he did was save my Jet Synchron. So now instead of it being banished, now it's in my graveyard again, which is hilarious. So, now we're going to Artifact Scythe Lock our opponent, and they're playing Phantom Knights. So you can imagine that it's not a good sign for him, right? Yeah, but he has Droplet, so just better lucky than good, I guess. He runs 2 Droplets, so I guess there's a chance of having it. But man, this happens to me so often. My opponent always has something. He goes in Cherubini. Some people say negate the Cherubini. I don't even see the point in doing that. Because, like, he does this for cost. Like, the activated effect is for cost, so if I negate it, it doesn't, he still gets a card in the graveyard, which I think is more important than anything else. So, we're not looking pretty hot right now. And our Drone Lockbird locked us out of getting a draw from our Wonder Magician. Feels bad. Our opponent goes into Verte, and we could Nibiru, but we don't. We actually just use our negate. Because our opponent's they're playing Phantom Knights, and there's no point in me using Nibiru if I could use it for next turn, in case I don't draw anything. Like, if I do not draw, like, anything good, there's, like, I need something to stop him from doing his turn. I draw Scrap Recycler, which is pretty much GG for our opponent. He just gives up because he knows we're just going to Orcust the hell out of him. Alrighty, folks. This is the last game, and we're playing against twins. Little slut twins. Alright, so we have Ash Blossom. Sexy. Sexy Ash Blossom. Actually, I take that back. I don't mean the actual card art is. I'm talking about the effect of Ash Blossom is very awesome. Don't report me to the FBI, please. So he's got this Lingaribo, which Lingaribo is kind of annoying because my trap's pretty much gonna get negated. And he's flexing on me right now with his Lingaribo. We're pretty much playing a stalemate match where we're just waiting for the first person to actually draw something, and then we activate all our hand traps at once to fight over that card. So let's see what happens with that. Right? So we draw the Scrap Recycler. It looks like I'm starting the war. And we get Effect Veilered. And we're going to be like, nah, 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 homeboy. We got called by the grave, you fool. You such a fool, yo. And he's cross-out designator me. And I'm like, nah, 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 fool. We got cross-out designator, fool. Get out. This is my turf, yo, young blood. And he droplets me. And that makes me cry. I cried a little when this happened. If you wanted to see me crying, you could have watched me on Sunday, where I was crying. I actually might not stream too much on Sunday anymore. I think I'm going to switch to majority of the weekdays for streaming. But this was very important, having the Scrap Recycler, because now we're able to destroy the Lingaribo, so our trap can do what it needs to do. And he draws Lala, and bam, we have the trap for it. Perfect. Everything's working according to plan. And Glow is not glowing anymore. Glow, he just turned his fucking nightlight off. So, now we draw Harpora. We can combo. Boom. Our opponent maxes. Smelly. Nerd. We go into Galateo. We activate Droll and Lockbird. So Droll and Lockbird's actually a lot better in this meta than it was pre-patch. Because Droll and Lockbird not only is good against Max C, right? So it's like an extra way of dealing with Max C without using your Call by the Graves. But it's also very good against Adventure. So when your opponent uses Water Enchantress, if Droll and Lockbird them, then they're not going to be able to fetch Wandering Griffin with their Fateful Adventure that turn. Unless they naturally have it in their hand, like my opponents do. And then you just get good. Our Dingirsu comes out. We attach, so we can get the Nightmare back in hand. We're gonna bring back one of our cards, so we can go into IP Masquerena. And I just want to say, IP Masquerena is really strong with Orcust, because with Babel, all your cards are instant speed. So now Nightmare can send Harpora, right? Can send Harpora to the graveyard. And now Harpora, right, would be able to special summon whatever Orcust monster to the field, right? And you can go into a Nightmare and compete with your opponent. Or you can even go into Longirsu. Or you can go into, if you get enough monsters on the field, you can go into Apollosa. So it's deceptively strong. If we didn't use our Orcust symbol, we only have one of them in the deck. If we did not use this card, then what we could have done was, if we had Orcust symbol in the graveyard, we would be able to instantly bring back Dingirsu. Dingirsu can send a card on the field to the graveyard, and then you could go into Nightmare, so it's like 2 removals in 1. So it's deceptively strong. It's our opponent's turn, and our opponent just gives up. They don't want to deal with this shit because they know how annoying this is. Hello, we're here for the recap, and I just want to say there is a small difference between this deck list and the one I was playing. And the one card is, we took out Artifact Lancia and we put in a Harpy's Feather Duster. And the only reason we did that is because when I was playing in D3, I played against Trap Tricks and Eldritch like game after game after game. And I just wanted a way of having, I was actually thinking about just taking out even the droplets just to put in Lightning Storms into the, that's how much I was playing against it. I was playing against it over and over. And it's not very fun when you don't really have any back row removal. The deck is the Eldritch and the Trap Tricks get to thrive against you. That being said, I do think this list is very, very solid. Performs very well. After all said and done, even with like the really unlucky win streaks I had lose streaks I had on stream, I was still sitting over a 75% win ratio, which is fairly solid. And you could definitely climb to Diamond 1 with this deck. I actually think I might try to climb to Diamond 1 on this account. Really depends if I feel like it, just because I have other things to be doing. So it's like one of those things, do I really want to invest time in this while I have other decks and stuff I need to work on? So maybe we do it, maybe we don't. It really doesn't matter. But the deck's very good. If I had to replace anything in this deck, I don't know what I would replace. I think every card performed pretty well. If anything, I would, because I think if you add the adventure package, it wouldn't really perform very well in this deck. I think you're adding too many engines at that point. Now, if I'm gonna give it a tier status, as you guys like, so out of I'm gonna do difficulty first. 1 to 10 difficulty, I say this deck is a 8. I don't think once you start learning the combos, it's not that bad, but it's definitely more difficult than a lot of other decks. Now, how good the deck is, I would probably say it's an 8 or 8.5 out of 10. Very solid all around. This deck would get insanely better if they took off some of our cards off of 1, like Galatea, Harpora, Girsu. A lot of these cards at 1, it kind of hurts the deck, especially since you can't, like, you have to like really be good at recycling your cards and really good at managing your graveyard and banish zone, because it gets kind of rough. That's the reason why we actually have Long Girsu in the deck, is because if our opponent ends up banishing with Floateries strikes, just to give you an idea, if they end up banishing like our Dingirsu and our Galatea, our Long Girsu will allow us to bring those cards back into the extra deck, because those are like very powerful cards that we don't really want to be missing out on. But I would give it 8.5. I would say 8.5. I would be comfortable playing 8.5 out of 10 on this power scaling. And is it a tier 1 deck? No. Tier 2. I'd probably say it's like a tier 2.5, tier 3. Honestly, tier 2.5, tier 3, which is a very solid footing. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of decks out there, and a lot of the decks are lower than tier 3. So the deck's pretty good. It's just not the best. There's so many more decks that are like insane, so it's like it's hard to say it's higher than that. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will have another spicy one coming to you for Wednesday. Bye.